Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elev8 Tribe. We are live in the tribe today, and it is Relationship Day, Cheryl.
Oh my gosh. Friday, relationship day, which is super cool because I think relationships are one of the most important parts in all of our lives. And I think we all want to feel loved. I think we all want to be in loving, kind relationships. And I think sometimes, Paul, especially nowadays, it's sometimes hard to find.
It is. It is in today's world, but we are going to teach you how to elevate your relationships. And that is, we spell elevate a little bit weird. It's got an A at the end. And the reason for that is because there's 8 areas of life that we go over here in the Elev8 Tribe. So if you're not part of the Elev8 Tribe, please go to Facebook and type in Elev8 Tribe and become part of our Facebook group, or go to elev8tribe.com, and that will also take you there. And then once you get there, you'll be able to see this amazing video live. So we're live in the tribe. Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. As you mentioned, Cheryl, today is Friday. It's Elevate Your Relationship Friday. And we are obsessed. So we're obsessed here in the Elevate Tribe to find out what determines the quality of people's life. What are the things that are going on? Why does this person have this amazing life and this person does not have such an amazing life? And today's topic is the quality of your life is equal to the quality of your relationships. And this is so true.
Makes sense. It really does. I remember when I was growing up, my mom would say, Cheryl, don't hang around with that group. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? They're just like me. And she's like, no, they're not. And I never understood that until I got a little bit older. But she was so right. It does matter the people you hang out with, no matter who you are, no matter if you're a child, no matter if you're a teenager or if you're an adult. Because, and I didn't know this when I was growing up, but I find it absolutely fascinating that whoever the 5 adults are that you spend most of your time with, that's the type of person that you will become.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it goes for everyone, young kids, teenagers, so that's why everyone says, oh, I think this all the time. I want my kids to hang out with good kids. Like, I love that my kids hang out with good kids who have the same morals, the same values, the same thoughts about different things that they do. I think it's super important.
Yeah. Now I can look back at my childhood and yeah, I hung around with a good group of guys. I mean, we all had, first of all, our parents were all married. So back then you had my mom's was home full time. All of their moms were home full time. So when we got out of whatever school or football or whatever practice we were at, we went back to one of our friends' houses and there was a mom there, that was, there to make us some food and, really watch over us. And we were just good kids. We didn't get into these crazy bad things that kids these days are getting into. But I really feel blessed that I was around, these 4 guys that really shaped who I am. And I go back to the book, Atomic Habits, and James Clear. I think it's one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. And he has a chapter in there about this, how the relationships you have in your life affect or shape who you are. And he knew that it was a big deal. But once he finished writing the book, I should say, he went back and did more research and has been working on another book and thinking about what he was going to write about. And from the research he was doing, he found out that one chapter was way more extensive than he initially thought it was. So now he's writing an entire book on this, that your life, your habits, everything you do is really based on who you surround yourself with. That's how important this relationship topic is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, it is who shapes you are the people that you hang around with.
Yeah.
Now, there's a few types of relationships that we're going to be talking about today. There's 3 types. Family. You can't choose your family. That always makes me laugh. Friends. You definitely can choose your friends. And then also your significant other, which it's most people can choose. Some people can't. Right? No, I have a friend that could not choose her significant other. But right. I don't know, Paul. I think sometimes that even works better.
I disagree.
Well, I got into a huge conversation with her, and you just choose to love that person no matter what, beginning on day one. And hell or high water, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I don't see that working for you.
Well, I don't like people telling me what to do, Paul.
That's what I was getting to. Yeah,
thing.
that's. I didn't want to say that out loud.
It's
I
a
wanted
good
you to
thing
come
that
out and
I
say
get
that.
to
Yeah.
choose. Yeah, it's a good thing that I get to choose.
And but there's this fourth type of relationship. It's like a business partner kind of relationship that's
Oh
out
yeah,
there, you know.
absolutely.
And what people have seen over the years, I'm saying this because we had a conversation before we shot this podcast, how much Cheryl is starting to come over to the right side of the fence and become more like me. And what a positive.
I'm not going to get it. Well, I know you're saying that so that I'll start having a checklist, and I am not going to have a checklist. Okay.
I'm like, Cheryl, we are more like than not. She's like, oh, we got lots of differences. You have a checklist. Listen, and I don't.
Oh my gosh. Paul is trying to be nice to me, so maybe I'll have a checklist, and I'm not having a checklist.
I'm the person in the relationship, in the business relationship here that has these checklists, that gets these podcasts checked off so that we stay on task and make an impact on the world.
So actually, Paul, thank you, because that is true. And I don't have to worry about it because you do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about another relationship that I absolutely love, and that's our relationship with God, right? So that falls under spiritual health. And one of our
is Sundays.
Sundays, yep. Sundays, we have the spiritual health day. And one of our favorite sayings is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, right? Or I can do all things through God who strengthens me. I think it's so important to remember that and to continue to nurture that relationship with God. And then the relationship with yourself. That is so interesting, because when I first, when you and I first started talking about that, and by the way, that falls under mental health. But the importance of that, I think maybe even that's where it all starts, right? Like, it all starts with the relationship that you have with yourself. If you have nothing inside, nothing, or if you're always angry inside, if you don't work on yourself, I guess is what I'm saying, how are you going to be able to give and help others?
Yeah. This is a strange topic for me personally. Like, my mother loves me. Sure, she's listening to this podcast right now. So you do love me, Mom. To almost a fault. I mean, I felt it my whole life. I've always been filled with love, and I've never struggled, just straight up honest, never struggled with loving myself in a good way. Not like I'm all that in a bag of chips, but just, I was always positive towards myself and just, thought highly of myself. I have a very good relationship with myself, I feel, but I found out how rare that is. We're, going into this profession, being in it for 30 years now, that it is extremely rare. Like, so many people that we work with have a horrible relationship with themselves. So how in the world are you going to have a good relationship with anybody else in the world if you can't even have a good relationship with yourself? And I think that's really, we're going to get to the root cause of most relationship problems. It comes with, how's the relationship with you? How's your relationship with God? If those two relationships are jacked up, I don't know if you have a shot at any other good one, any other relationships being good. Yeah,
well, I do agree with you that it's your parents who fill your tank up and who help you realize self-worth and self-confidence, things like that. But I think there was something about you, Paul, that was really special. I mean, when I was 16, I wasn't asking for a Tony Robbins thing. And I think it was even younger than that. I mean, I didn't even know anything about personal growth. So I think that's something that's very interesting too. And that you started that at such a young age, I think has a lot to do with your confidence in yourself, your self-worth, and the relationship that you have with yourself. And I do think that played a big part in it also. Yeah.
Dad and I like to stay up late at night watching TV, and I love infomercials. So you could sell me anything. I'll buy it. Just put up an ad and
That's why you finally had to go to bed at 10 o'clock so that you stop buying things late at night.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
All right, okay. So we're going to talk about a couple things here. So one thing that we're going to suggest to elevate your relationships and this came straight from Tony Robbins, is to exchange your expectations for appreciation. And what does that mean to you, Cheryl?
Well, I think a lot of people that I talk to, um, you expect maybe your kids to do certain things or be a certain way, or and instead of expecting those things, then you can just have appreciation for who they are. I was actually just talking to my trainer this morning, and we were talking about how she or how is it a good idea to make your kids do something, like make your kids become a doctor or a lawyer, or do you let them follow their heart, right? And so for me, I had literally no expectations for my kids. I said, you do you do what you're good at, you do what you love. Because I think that's more important than, and I don't care what they're gonna do. I do not care. But they have to love it, and I have to have appreciation instead of expectations for them in that way. And I think it has made everything so much better in my relationship with them. Also with a spouse, I hear a lot of times that, that we get married and then we're like, well, I just thought he was going to do this.
Yeah.
And I thought, and it's that you want them to change who they are, and you think that that's going to happen. First of all, that's not going to happen. I mean, somebody might try to do that or whatever, but on a core level, they're always going to be who they are. And you have to appreciate and love that person for who they are, not who you want or who you think they can become.
Yeah, you need to get clear on that. We'll talk about this in a minute here. Clear on that prior to saying I do. Because, and we had a little bit of an argument over this, and that I think whoever said opposites attract should be shot, because that is so false to me in my belief system, in that, it's not about finding someone and being like, well, she's almost there. And I'm a self-help guru, so I can change her. I can fix this, that, and that, and then she'll be perfect. And that isn't always the best action plan to have.
Oh my God.
In a relationship.
That makes me laugh. That really makes me laugh.
So you better make sure that's there already, not that you're going to implement these things as we go along.
Well, and I've watched a lot of different things on relationships, and it's like when you very first are dating or whatever, then you want to say, like, if there's something that would, break the whole thing off, like you have an expectation,
a deal breaker,
you want to share that with the person, and if they're like, if they can deal with that or not, then great, whatever. But there's some things, like for instance, well, I like to play tennis, and then oh well, I don't like to do anything. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to go play tennis, and then that wouldn't be a deal breaker because I'm going to go play tennis, and who I'm married to doesn't want to go do that. Okay, that's fine. And I think it's healthy to do some of those things on your own, and not just, be glued at the hip 24/7.
Yeah. Yep. But there's definitely has to be some things in common, or this is not going to work.
Absolutely. Yes.
So, one of the best relationships that we have right now are the relationships we have with people in the Elev8 Tribe.
Yeah.
And that's, again, a situation where we all have everything in common. The common North Star that every single one of us has is that we live every moment of every day to get a little bit better. We just want things to improve. What can we do to improve things today? And when you have that as your North Star and you're around people like that's all they're thinking about, it just is amazing. Those are the absolute best relationships, in my opinion, to be around, where my number one focus is your number one focus, and everyone's number one focus is the same thing. And that's to improve all 8 areas of life by 1%. That is what we're here for. So as James Clear states, and I mentioned him before, he has this great quote that we use all the time, that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. So again, the ultimate system, the system that we use here at Elevate Your Life, is plan, do, review. So there has to be a plan going into these relationships. What is the plan for your relationships with your family members? What is the plan for the relationships with your friends, with your spouse? And this should really start even before you even get married or look for someone to date. Is to get really clear on what do you want in these relationships? What do I want this relationship to be like? And I remember sitting down with Angelica, that she was 15, 16 years old, 15 when we did that. To get clear at that age, like who are you looking for? And I truly believe that once you get clear on that, even the universe goes to work into finding that person. But when we don't do that, and I hear a lot of people do this after their first divorce. They're like, I should have done that initially. I just, married that person for whatever, but they didn't check off any boxes, and boxes are important, Cheryl.
Well, did they even think about this? Like when I saw this,
right.
I'm like, why do we have, when I very first looked at the notes and Paul and I are going over the notes and I'm like, why do we have plan, do, review in the relationship podcast? Like that is so weird. But then I like starting, the plan will get clear on what the relationship in your life, like what you want them to be like. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so brilliant. Right.
And then why do you want them that way?
That's right. Why? Yeah. And how can, not only why you want them that way, but how can you create the relationships that you want? Because I do really believe that you can absolutely do that.
Yeah. But again, my belief system is that comes from 80% of that comes from finding the right person. Someone willing to work with you that say, hey, that is always going to be compromised in relationships, but it's finding that right person and then establishing that awesome communication that, hey, neither one of us is going to get bad. We have to be open and honest with each other. I like this. I didn't like that. So the whole review process is the same in this area that it's been in all the other 7 areas. What's going good? I think sitting down with your spouse, your children, even with your family members and saying, hey, in this relationship, what makes you feel good in this relationship? What's going good? Hey, I love the way you do that. I love when you do that. I love this. I love that. Getting all that out there before we jump into, hey, what's not going so good? And a lot of times, if you obviously you're saying it in the right way, but boy, I wish he did this a little bit more. Give me an extra hug in the morning, or did something, and it could be something extremely small that you're like, shit, I could do that. And if that's going to make that big of a difference, then of course I'll do that. And that means so much to the other person. And I just think that back and forth with that, and making those small changes on a regular basis just keeps, again, I don't, maybe we didn't say this yet, but literally what I say to I go to a lot of weddings and I see a lot of couples, and I ask every single couple the exact same question. What is the worst day of your marriage? And it has to be the same for every single person.
Yep.
And that's the day you got married.
Right.
Your wedding day has to be the worst day of your marriage, because we're Elev8. Every day it's 1% better. So everybody finds it so fascinating too, because everybody looks at their wedding day as being the best day of their marriage. And how many marriages go downhill from that day on?
Right.
Just about all of them.
Yeah.
Simply because of the mentality that they have behind the marriage. It's not an Elev8 mentality. It's, well, I worked all this way. I got the guy, I got the girl, and now I don't got to work hard anymore. Job's done. And we stopped trying to elevate.
Yeah, the job just started.
Exactly. We just got started here. So yeah, going through that review process, and also going through a review process kind of with yourself about still setting boundaries. And Sean, I really want you to talk about this, because I know this is especially a problem for moms out there. I see. I don't think guys have a tough time drawing boundaries. They're like, I'm doing my thing. I'm going golfing. See you in 5 hours. But moms don't have that type of ability to draw boundaries, as from my vantage point.
No, I think that and I think when they do set a boundary, and when we say set a boundary, you've got to keep yourself a priority. So you need to take time for you away from everyone else, so that you can, kind of replenish the tank. Because if you're not at 100%, how can you take care of everyone else? Which is exactly what moms do. I mean, we're kind of built like that, right? I mean, we want to take care of others. We want to take care of our kids. And I think what happens is we don't do it. We don't set the boundary. The boundaries get blurred anyway for me. I mean, seriously, I am like I'm not joking.
Your lines are made in chalk, huh?
Yeah, like really. And they're always getting moved. And so I've been really trying to work hard on that, on setting those boundaries, um, in every area of my life, not just one or two, but in every area of my life. And it's kind of hard if you haven't really done it too much. It's hard for kids to understand, but you just sit down and talk to them about it and then they understand. Right. And so, but setting those boundaries
And you've
are.
come a long way. I mean, we had this discussion years and years ago where now you're playing tennis on a regular basis. You're like, yeah, I'm doing what I want to do. Like,
Right.
yes, I'm going to do a ton for you and make everything happen for you, but there's things that you've made yourself a priority, and that I'm going to do this, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to run my business. And I think that's healthy in my opinion, because to me, raising children is all about setting an example. Yeah, that I do put myself as a priority. And, of course you would say, I think the advice you give to Angelica would be the same advice, is that, hey, don't ever let your own self-worth go down, or let those boundaries go down. Do what you need to do for you.
Yeah. Take the time to do that, right? To nourish yourself, to do those things for yourself, to take a time away or a bit of a time out. Even
if you're not strong, how are you going to help anybody else?
That's exactly right. And I talk to so many people who are like, well, after I had kids, I just kind of didn't have time to go to the gym. I just quit. And, and then your health goes, to hell in a handbasket. And then, and then what else? That's a farm term.
Is there a farm term for that, Cheryl?
That is a farm term. But, all of these things start to happen. And then you're like, how in the heck did I get here? Right? How did I get 30 or 40 pounds overweight and struggling? And I don't even, I have no idea how that happened. Right. But I think it is just being able to set those boundaries and take that time for yourself.
Yeah. And I mentioned running your business and setting that example. I think in a marriage with children, having that date night, not only for you and your husband to have that time to continue to bond, but I think it's a great example you're setting for children. And one of my big pet peeves is that, there's quality and quantity. So I focus on quality. I'm not looking for, hey, spend all day with me. I just want the quality time. And I see every time we go out to eat, there's family of 4, everyone's on their phone. They got the quantity. They were there for 2 hours, but the quality to me is at 0. So yeah. I think we've lost touch with quality, and having that quality time where, if you spend an hour or 2 super, super high quality, that can be worth 8 hours of being in the same room, but never communicating.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Quality over quantity. Super important. That's so awesome. Well, Paul, this has been so much fun. And it's been such a pleasure spending time with each and every one of you today. So stay committed and stay consistent. Remember, you have the power to elevate your life and the lives of those